With Ipswich Town's men's team having a weekend off, for the international break, focus instead shifts to the ITFC Women's team, who are in action on Sunday against Lewes. Join me as I look through the new look Ipswich Town team and preview the big game with changes afoot at opposition side Lewes as well. So let's go through this Ipswich Town squad from back to front, and there's changes throughout, as I mentioned, starting in goal where the new number one is Natalia Negri, a 21-year-old from Crystal Palace, who made 8 appearances for them last season, has also featured in the past for Arsenal and Charlton, and another one in the town ranks with England under-19 experience. Very much in the mould of the men's team goalkeepers that have to play out from the back, have to be confident with her feet, which she definitely is. Similar to Aro Muric, at times might get a little bit high-pressed and forced into mistakes, which is perhaps a factor behind one of the goals conceded last week at Exeter, but has real physical presence for a goalkeeper at this level, as I said, will start moves, really pings direct balls across the pitch, and when it is called into, will make great saves as well. Also very, as most goalkeepers need to be, happy to take a clattering. She got some pretty unfair treatment from the Norwich front line in the League Cup, and dealt with that pretty confidently. So a really good addition to the team, really confident, as we said, and an integral part of the way that Joe Sheehan's side wants to play. In that mould as well is backup keeper Laura Hartley, who's in her second season with the club, has been at Brighton before, and Lewes too, and finished the last season as Town's keeper with Poppy Soper's loan from Charlton being terminated early. So some really good options for Joe Sheehan at the back, the way that he wants to play, as we said, passing out and creating moves from deep. Another keeper that might be familiar, who is out on loan currently, is Nina Miolo. She was the Division 1 South East Player of the Season whilst on loan at Cambridge City. She's now at AFC Sudbury for a year and looking to boost her first team minutes. So 2 keepers for Town at the moment. If anything were to change there, you'd expect that Nina Miolo would be brought back. That loan will be recalled. But for now, we've got a number one in Natalia Negri, and her backup is Laura Hartley. So into defence now, and again, similar to the men's team, a lot of versatility here. People who can play multiple positions, not least skipper Maria Boswell, who is recovering from injury. Probably Sunday's game is maybe just a little bit too soon for a start, but has had sub-minutes against Norwich and against Exeter. Can play centre-back, right-back, and similar, if not more so, than the goalkeeper's very confident with ball at feet, has got an excellent set-piece delivery as well, and a really integral part of the team last season and will look to be this season. While she's been out, Leo Mitchell, 18-year-old who signed her first pro deal in the summer after making 25 appearances for the club in all comps last time out. Confident with the ball, but has an imposing stature, likes to get forward, dangerous set-pieces, and she's come in and played down that right-hand side for Joe in the last few weeks. The option on the left-hand side is Summer Hughes. Great pace, similar to Leif Davis in the fact that the system requires the left-back to bomb up and down the line. And if it's not Summer Hughes, who's got an excellent knack of scoring in really important games, she opened the scoring at Norwich, it's Maisie Barker, who's 22-year-old, can play right or left-back, former West Ham, and has had a loan hashtag recently as well. And is in her second season with the club as well, can play either side, as I mentioned. Raw pace, direct running, creates goals, creates panic, and is a really popular member of this Town team now. At centre-back, we've got Evie Williams, who's another youngster coming through, physical presence, a person who's good to get forward at the set pieces, and again, is used to the playing out from the back, and very much in the mould of Megan Waring, who plays the trail ahead of her, former Player of the Year, 22-23 season. Last time out, last season, a little bit dominated, unfortunately, by injury, but is back in the team this season and is back to her usual self. Confident, will take the ball out of defence, will try and create stuff, a real leader on the pitch as well. She's the captain of Scotland's under-19s. Finally, one more centre-back option who's unlikely to feature is Grace Garrard, who joined actually from having left Lewes in the summer, so a familiar name to them. Former Arsenal, Palace and West Ham player, got a lot of experience, will wear the number 5 shirt when she's back fit and ready to go, but as mentioned, currently injured and probably won't feature on Sunday. In central midfield then, and Joe's made a lot of recruitment in this particular area. Let's start with Charlotte Fleming, who's joined the club from Watford last season, or left Watford to join the club in the summer. She was recovering from injury there, but has started the season really strongly for Town. Very combative central midfield player, adds a little bit of physicality, but likes to break things up and get the ball moving and recycled. And she's the standing skipper at the moment while Maria Boswell's been on the sidelines. Came through at Chelsea, had time at Leicester and London City, so a lot of pedigree there, and really impressing in her early games for Town so far. We hope it's not too long before she's seen alongside Kyra Robertson, who has been one of Town's standout and most consistent players over the last few seasons. Now well over 50 appearances for the club, Player of the Year a couple of seasons back as well. She's currently suffering from an injury, suffered in pre-season, I think, and probably too soon for her on Sunday. But, great to have these players who are fit and ready to go at the moment, and know that you've got strength and depth that's going to come through as the season goes on, with the likes of Kyra Robertson and Grace Garrett, as I mentioned. A couple of central midfield options, I've got a few central midfield options who like to push forward. I'll start with Angela Addison, who's rejoined the club really, in the summer, who's been at Spurs and Charlton, so a lot of top flight and championship experience there. Opened her account in the goal front at Norwich as well, which is a perfect way to do that. Once upon a time an academy player, as I mentioned. She's very diminutive, but very physical presence in midfield, likes to roam, likes to get on the ball, likes to try and make things happen. So she's an exciting player to watch. As is Shona Guy as well, who's joined the club in the summer as well. She made 32 appearances for Crystal Palace in her time there. Came through the Chelsea ranks, and she likes to drift all over the place. She's maybe more of a 10 or a right-sided player. Very keen to get on the assists. She's already getting stuck in on that front. Seems to be very creative and push on that right-hand side. Maybe could even do a right wing option if needed. But notionally a number 10, a midfielder, another option that's been getting good minutes for Joe Sheehan's side so far this season. Another player who's also got good minutes, who we've got a vested interest here at Blue Monday, is Lucy O'Brien. And I need to say thanks to all these great people on screen who have supported our friends at Blue Monday sponsorship of Lucy this season. We're really excited to continue that for the third season in a row. And what do we know? We know lots about Lucy. Real out and out number 10, 2-footed, likes to drop the shoulder, likes to dribble, likes to create and make things happen, and has started her season with 2 goals in the first 2 games as well. So really confident start from Lucy, and here on Blue Monday we're always excited to see what she can do. The actual incumbent of the number 10 shirt is Eloise King, very much Town through and through. Another player who's trying to come back from injury and re-establish herself in the team. Really scuppered her last season, but she's starting to get more and more minutes. Has made a couple of sub-appearances, including that Norwich game and last week to Exeter. This weekend against Lewes, probably too soon for a start, but she'll be certainly chomping at the bit to try and get first team minutes, more and more first team minutes, and get that starting lineup space back in the next few weeks. And another number 10 who made her mark last week, ER19, Ella Rutherford, who joined the club from having been at Charlton the last few seasons, 40 appearances for them in the Championship, and 2 goals in her first appearance for the club off the bench last week, changed the game at Exeter. Another one with England experience, youth experience, but another one who has had a really unfortunate time with injuries, an ACL a few years ago and a knee injury that required surgery earlier this year, but now making a comeback. If she can stay fit and get in the Ipswich Town team, she'll be a real threat for us. The quality of the 2 goals that she scored last week pay testament to that as well. So really exciting marquee signing, you could say, for Ipswich there. A lot of experience coming down from the Championship level to try and raise our game. And yeah, really excited to see what Ella Rutherford can do for Town this season. Out wide, some excitement again. Another player whose career has had kind of a setback with injury, but is now making up for lost time. Sophie Peck suffered her ACL injury a couple of years ago and had an amazing season last year. 12 goals, 20 assists, the Supporters and Players Player of the Year, and the Southern Premier Division Player of the Season as well. Is getting right back to where she started with some powerful running, getting assists and scoring goals, including a worldie against Norwich. All eyes on Sophie Peck, a real key player for Town down that right-hand side. A really good partnership last season with Maisie Barker as well. So yeah, a massive threat for Town, and along with Natasha Thomas, who we'll speak about in a second, changed that game at Norwich after we'd dominated for 60 minutes, couldn't find the breakthrough. She came on, did all the damage down that right-hand side. Another option for Joe at right side is Izzy Bryant as well, who can also come in and playing centrally in a forward role as well. She returned to the club from a spell in the US. Tall, again, powerful runner. Got a good shot on her as well. We spoke to her on the podcast about her role in the team. She'll probably be an option from the bench, but is getting more and more minutes. Great to see the strength and depth that Joe has, as we mentioned. The front line, very much dominated by the GOAT, Natasha Thomas, whose numbers speak for themselves. Over 200 appearances now for the club, the only third player to do that in our history, and now over 150 goals for the club. Game against Hashtag in April, where she marked that huge milestone. Great numbers and a huge presence in this team. The kind of player that opposition defences hate to come up against. Great in the air, really physical, imposing presence. And again, similar to the men's team, needs to be able to hold the ball up and bring the 10s into it. She's perfect in that job. And that's why season after season she bags the goals, but also gets involved in assists and pre-assists as well. Another number 9, actually wearing the number 9 shirt, is Isabella Fisher, who's joined the club from Arsenal on a dual registration. Another one like Freya Godfrey and Ruby Doe, who have joined from Arsenal on dual reg in the past. Another number 9 in a similar mould to Natasha Thomas. Physical presence, likes to run with the ball, likes to chase things down, make things happen. And huge credit to her for the Exeter equaliser, where she chased down a lost cause, kept the ball alive, recycled it into the area, and that's where the second goal came from. So keep a lookout for them. But as always, this Ipswich team is very much in accordance with the style of the men's team. That left-hand side, as I say, with the marauding fullback. You've got the kind of progressive pressing wingers down the right-hand side. It is a back 4, and you've got your 2 sitters who will also maraud. And then you've got that kind of 3 and the number 9 leading the line as well. So very similar system, very similar roles. And as we said, kind of very much a team in the mould of Joe Sheehan's philosophy of playing out from the back, playing the game the right way, regardless of the circumstances, continuing to do the right things, trusting the process. And we've spoken to Joe many times on this podcast about his approach to the game. He won't change. And now clocked up well over 150 games for the club since he took charge in February 2019. Check out our interview. I'll stick a link to that above to hear all about Joe and on the great work that he continues to do. Before we talk about Lewes and the game on Sunday, let's hear from our partners at Atwells, who are great partners for the podcast this season, along with our friends at One Stop Badges.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwells Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
So let's talk about Sunday's opponents, Lewes, who are off the back of a relegation from the WSL Championship last season. A really interesting case study as a club, trying to do things the right way, 100% fan-owned, the first gender-equal football club in the world, I think, where they pay their men's and women's players the same. But this is very much a season of adjustment, not least after the relegation, but the departure of some real key faces. Maggie Murphy, their influential chief exec. The manager, Scott Booth, left at the end of last season as well. A new management team coming in there, Nat Lawrence, alongside an assistant, Tim Heal, who'd been at the club for some time. And they've appointed recently a new chief of operations and football performance, these great words that I love to say, Kelly Lindsay as well. So a real change off the field and a reacclimatization to last season, where they only got 4 wins on the board, 14 defeats, minus 17 goal difference. The only win was against Watford, who they actually drew with last time out, and was the last time they tasted victory as well in March. And part of this reacclimatization is a huge raft of players coming in and out, huge amount of churn in terms of the squad. Obviously, the key players from their spell in the Championship, where they'd been for 6 seasons and kept their heads relatively above water and finishing 8th or 9th for that time until that kind of luck ran out perhaps last season. But some big names, goal contributions who have left the club. Amelia Hazard, former Arsenal player, made 22 appearances and got 2 assists. She's one of a raft of 4 players that left for Burnley, including Anna Gray, former ITFC Anna Gray, who got 1 goal and 1 assist in her 19 appearances for Lewes last season. Keeper Sophie Whitehouse left. A few went to Championship Blackburn, including Ellie Hack. a really influential player for them, a real leader on the pitch. Skipper Rhian Cleverly left the club to join Rugby Borough. We know about Grace Garrod joining ITFC. 2 players went to Forest, Cara Hamilton and Holly Olding, who the latter got 4 goals and 2 assists for them last season. Really influential player Maria Ferrugia went to Sheffield United. She was Championship Player of the Month in March. Another goal scorer, another creator. So a lot of players went out the door. Another, similar to Ipswich in Lena Gunning-Williams, though I think she's now been replaced, but Amy Claypole, who was on loan from Chelsea last season, who scored 2 goals and 3 assists. In her loan spell, she was obviously an influential and important part of the team as well, but she's returned to Chelsea and I think gone back out on loan again. So a lot of goals, a lot of experience has left Lewes and been replaced, it has to be said, with quite a lot of inexperience. There are some good players obviously in there, but a lot of them under 20, and that's a lot of risk there. Players signed from overseas, a couple of players from the US, but there are signings from London City, Muna Eza, a forward, Mia Adaway from Portsmouth, so there is some experience there of this level and the level above, but a lot of young players signed from Man United Academy or Chelsea's Academy, who I guess there's a lot of pressure for them to start making ground straight away. Lewes will be looking to bounce back, but not being the best of starts. 4-0 opening day home defeat to Exeter. We know all about Exeter, a really buoyant team with a lot of momentum from last season, and that was a real surprise result and really set the tone for Exeter's start and perhaps Lewes's start as well. They snuck over the line against Worthing in the FA Women's National League League Cup determining round. Easy for me to say. Goals from Layla Proctor and Olivia Carpenter, 2 of these signings that have come in, one from Man United's Academy, one of Jill Reg from Brighton. Last time out, the 1-1 draw with Watford, which on paper is not too bad a result, but no wins on the board yet. And as I said, this young team, new manager, new head of performance off the field, it all needs time to gel. And therefore, I guess this is a cliche, but this might be a good time for Town to play Lewes, currently 11th off the back of those results. Some of the last season's squad have been retained, both signed from Charlton, Hannah Godfrey, 27, and Lois Rush, who both strong presences in that team. I think Rush scored the goal against Watford as well, so there is some experience still in that team, but very much the periphery around it is inexperienced players looking to find their heads at this level. So if Town put in a confident performance and score the first goal, you kind of back them to get the points in this one. I mentioned last time out the 1-1 draw with Watford. Town's last time out was against Exeter, that 2-2 draw. In terms of how ITFC will approach this one, I'm not expecting a huge amount of change in the ranks. You do wonder whether Ella Rutherford's 2 goals last week will get her a start, though she probably needs to be nursed back to full fitness. Same with Maria Boswell. Maybe this one is too soon for her, but I think probably she's got the best chance of all the players who are coming back from injury, including Eloise King. Town definitely, as we mentioned, much stronger this season, giving themselves a real good opportunity for a successful season. Started really strongly. The point last time out, maybe on paper a bit frustrating, but Exeter just have a crazy record, particularly at home. So to get a point there, particularly from 2-0 down, probably tells the story there. But I think in this one, Town should be looking to get the win. I'm going to back Ipswich for a 2-0 victory. I'm not going to predict the scorers though. Well, maybe Lucy O'Brien. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Let's go with Lucy O'Brien for at least one of them. But if you are on the fence about whether to head down, there is plenty of parking around Felix, so you can get the bus from Ipswich, get the train from Ipswich. It's a really inviting experience, really inclusive atmosphere. There is, of course, some noise. I'm hanging up my sticks for this season. Maybe my drum might be there if anyone fancies stepping in. But if you listen carefully to the PA system, you might hear a familiar voice. That's my new role there. But this team really deserving of support, really plays the game the right way, very much in the mould, very similar to what you'd expect with the men's team on a Saturday. Do get down there. You can get your tickets in advance on the ITFC ticket website, but you can pay on the gate. There's a sweet shop. You can have a beer. It's a really welcoming atmosphere, as I say. So do get behind the team. And if you can only follow from afar, do follow the ITFC Women on Twitter. You'll get blow-by-blow play from the game. And the goals are now being uploaded pretty quickly onto social media as well. So really great to see the club getting behind the team. Please do so as well. As always, here on Blue Monday, please give a like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard or listened to or saw. And join us every week when we go through the Town's men's game in more detail. We'll be back, as usual, ahead of the Brighton game with the pre-match and the Flagship Show and something else, I'm sure. But for now, thank you for watching, and come on, you Blues!